It's Tuesday, and it's time for the Falcon Focus podcast. We're live from the Concordia Cafeteria from now until 10:15. We're live on Facebook Live, archived on cuwfalcons.com. You can download the audio thanks to Podbean and listen through iTunes. My name is Matt Menzl. On this week's edition, we talk men's and women's golf with their head coach, Nikolai. But we begin things off with women's outdoor track and field that with senior Irene Bolis, and kind enough to join us here on this Tuesday. First of all, thanks for your time. And
thanks for having me.
You know, the outdoor season quickly winding down, and I want to start before we talk outdoor, let's talk indoor, and that wrapped up a couple of months ago. But you finished fourth in the 55-meter hurdles, fifth in the 55-meter dash, third in the 55-meter hurdles at the Carthage final qualifier. How would you summarize your indoor season?
Yeah, so indoor season was a little tough to start out. I was trying out a new technique for hurdles, so instead of 4-stepping, I was 3-stepping. So it was a rough start, but in the end, it really came together. I was really excited about that. For the finals at Carthage for conference, it was super exciting just to be up there with the top 3 pack and just be with them and race against them. And using that new technique, it really helped me to I actually broke the school record again with that, so it's really exciting.
And we'll talk about some of the school records you have set now in your time with Concordia, but there was about 3 weeks or so off between the end of the indoor season and the beginning of the outdoor season. Do you take time off? Do you rest during that time? Is it nonstop? You just switch gears from indoor to outdoor? What goes on during about that 3 or 4 week stretch? So you have
like a week or so to kind of rest a little bit, but we're still being active. It's not like we're sitting on like a couch potato or anything like that. So we definitely do have workouts from our coaches, and then it's kind of after that week or so, you kind of just switch right into outdoor, so you don't lose what you've gained in the indoor season. So.
Is there a big difference going from indoor to outdoor outside of maybe the controlled elements where, indoors not dealing with maybe the wind, the cold?
Right, so that's like one of our biggest differences, especially in Wisconsin. It gets really cold, and you have to kind of realize that not every single race is going to be for you, because there's going to be wind, there's going to be snow, there's going to be rain in your eyes. So you have to take that into consideration sometimes. So it is a different environment, but it's also a different mindset. So for indoor, you'd have the 55-meter hurdles. Outdoor, you're adding 5 more hurdles to that, so that's something to consider as well.
And what a way to start the outdoor season in San Diego, California. Outside of the competition, how much fun was that trip?
That was amazing. It was like a little vacation other than having to race, but it was just awesome to see a different environment with different people and people you've never seen before gotten to race against. So it was definitely awesome, something I'll never forget.
So what was your favorite part about the trip?
We got to go to SeaWorld.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was a lot of fun, but just running on the track with palm trees right next to you is awesome too. So.
You talked about the competition. You're seeing schools that you guys haven't seen before.
Right.
How challenging was that competition? How did that help you maybe prepare for the rest of this spring season?
So being the first first meet of the season is always a little different for everybody, and sometimes it doesn't go as you want it to, but with that new competition, it was kind of exciting to see, you've never seen these people compete, you don't know how they're going to compete, so just being able to step up in the line with them and compete with them, it was pretty awesome. So it gives you that those goals to set for the rest of the season after that first meet. So.
We talked a little bit about weather and the factor weather could have, especially here in the spring outdoor season. How was the weather out in California?
It was pretty nice. It wasn't super, super warm, but we were able to not have to wear long sleeves and not to have to wear long pants, so that was pretty exciting.
Is that kind of a shock, though? You go from getting the opportunity to race out in California and then coming right back here where, it just fluctuates, it seems like, on a daily basis?
Yes, it was really different, especially because when you have that first meet at such a nice place that you just kind of expect to come back to that, and we came back to snow, so yeah.
What do you prefer? What's the ultimate, when you look at temperature, when you look at weather conditions, for you, what's the ultimate?
Definitely for anybody it would be warm weather, but for hurdles in particular, or even the 100 dash, if you have wind, sometimes they'll flip the race, so you actually have a tailwind, so actually it is very beneficial for you. So you kind of look for that tailwind.
Can it be too hot, though?
Yes. For a sprinter, it's not as concerning because your race is so short, but especially for someone who's running the steeplechase or the mile, that's super. You can be super dehydrated from that, so you just have to be very careful and cautious about what you do.
As we speak, obviously it's the end of April. Overall, how has your outdoor season played out so far?
So with that new method that I was able to do during indoor season, I kind of took that into outdoor season, and that was super beneficial for me. So it was really exciting. It was like a new race every single time I raced, something I could try. And I was getting closer and closer to my personal record this year, and actually last Thursday I was able to break it finally. So it's super exciting. So it's been really good, and just bittersweet to have it be my last year. So.
I was going to ask you about that, okay? April 18th, you're part of the St. Norbert College Twilight individual champion with a best of 15.87 seconds in the 100-meter hurdles. Your thoughts on your performance that day, but also your team's performance at St. Norbert.
Yeah, so when we got there, it was a little bit windy already, so I was a little bit nervous about that. Luckily for the 100 hurdles, they flipped the race, so we had that tailwind, so that actually benefited me quite a bit, so I'm very thankful for that. After about that 2 races after that, the wind kind of picked up quite a bit, so we had some good performances, but sometimes the times don't always show for that because of that wind. So a lot of people just went out there, like my team, they go out there and they just put forth their best effort, and that's all we can ask for. So I'm very proud of them.
You talked about changing your technique and changing some things around here in your senior year. Okay, how about with the wind? Okay, they switched it around a little bit for you, so the tailwind, but does that change your technique at all? Do you have to account for the wind? Do you approach an event differently because of the weather elements?
So for a regular race, you just have to run your heart out because you have that tailwind. Mm-hmm. But for hurdles, it is a little different because you have that tailwind. You have to expect those hurdles to come up even faster. So you just have to make sure that you're accounting for that with that wind. Because if you don't get your trail up fast enough, you're probably going to hit the hurdle. So you just have to be careful about that.
So you went from 4 steps to 3 steps when it comes to the hurdles. That's the new technique. What prompted you to change it up a little bit and try the 3-step?
So the 4-step actually started to slow me down because I was slowing down to make that 4-step, and I kind of realized that I was fast enough to 3-step, and we have a new coach this year, and he had kind of helped me critique and fix that technique. So it was really exciting to just try it and realize I can do this, and it made me a lot faster. So I'm very happy for that.
You're involved in a number of different events outside of sprint and hurdles, also some relays. Do you have a favorite event that you participate in?
I would have to say the 4x1 relay. It's always so exciting. It's so fast, and you just have to watch everybody and see how fast everyone goes. And those handoffs are just so important. So it's exciting to see what happens with that.
What's the technique with the handoff? Because I know you don't see the baton, so to speak, drop on a regular basis, but it does happen.
It does happen. Actually, we had a 4x2 relay not too long ago, and we were in 5th place as I was getting the baton, and there were 2 girls next to us, and they actually collided, and so they fell. So that happens a lot. If you're not careful and you don't stay in your lane, then you're jeopardizing somebody else's race, and then you fall and there's tumbles. So you just have to really be careful and practice those handoffs. So they're just so important.
Is there an event that you haven't tried that, looking back, you go, well, I wish I would have maybe tried that at some point?
Mm-hmm. Actually, the long jump is
really.
Yeah, I've never really done field events, so I'm actually looking to try that this coming weekend. So we'll see how that goes.
Very nice. Now, when you look back at your collegiate career, what are you most proud of? How do you go about, looking back and saying, what, I'm really happy I accomplished that? Because your name is all over the record book for a variety of events. You've set a number of program records in your 4 years now.
So I'd probably have to say the hurdles, because I got to change that technique. I was going to be really upset if I wasn't able to perfect that before I graduated, knowing I could do it. So I'm very proud of that, but altogether I'm just really proud of my team. They've just been very supportive of me and everything I've done, and I couldn't have done it without them.
Do you still have goals for yourself or individual goals you have for yourself these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so I did just break the school record, but it's always fun to keep trying and see if you can better yourself. So I'm really excited for that and just seeing what I can do at conference. So.
And the NAC Outdoor Championships coming your way, coming up May 3rd and 4th. When you look at the field, who tends to be the toughest competition for the Falcons?
We're always against Aurora and Benedictine. They have quite a bit more people than we do, so it's always hard to get up there with them, but our performances are just as good, so I'm excited to see how close we can get to them.
How about teammate-wise? Okay, you're one of the seniors on the women's outdoor track and field team. Who are some of the other athletes that have really maybe caught your eye or certainly been making some noise in their events?
Yeah, so Megan Springman, she's a sophomore this year at Concordia, and she's been just PRing all above the board, so I'm excited to see what she'll be doing at conference. Along with Megan Curran, she's a thrower here at Concordia. She's a sophomore as well, and she was really close to making nationals, so it's exciting to see if she can crack that 20 people board and get into nationals. So that's exciting, as well as Sam Spranger. He is a junior as well, and he runs the 400, and he actually went to nationals outdoor season last year, so we're excited to see what he can do.
Well, let's get to know Irene a little bit better, and let's begin by, do you have a pre-meet routine, anything you do before you go out and compete?
Yeah, I kind of go out there and I do the same exact warm-up. I do a certain amount of block starts over a hurdle, and just to make sure that I have that confidence going into the race. So if I don't do that, I just don't feel ready to race. So,
How did you first get involved in track?
I think in middle school, I actually ran the mile. We had it was called the pumpkin run, and I would always win every single year, and everyone's like, oh, you're really good at running, you should try track. And I was like, no, that's okay. So then I went into high school and I tried out for volleyball, and we had to do the mile test run. And so after that, they're like, you should try out for track. I was like, okay. So I tried it in high school, and then I ended up just being that sport the whole way through, and I just really enjoyed it. And so coming into college, I wasn't really sure if I would be able to do it or not. And so as soon as I started, I was like, yeah, I have to do this.
So volleyball and track were the sports that you played, at least in high school?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then why Concordia?
So I picked Concordia actually because I knew I could do track. I wanted that faith-based environment as well, and we have really good academic programs here.
So for a stranger that doesn't know you, how would you go about describing yourself?
I would say I like to talk a lot. I love food. I like to run.
Favorite food?
Favorite food, lasagna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any particular lasagna?
My mom's home-based lasagna.
Do you have favorite music that you listen to?
Just radio music, yeah.
Favorite TV show?
Or
movie for that matter.
Oh, Jurassic Park. All the Jurassic Parks.
All of them?
All of them. I love dinosaurs. So.
Favorite do you have a nickname?
Everybody calls me Reen Bean or Reen.
Is that something that's been throughout your life or just more recently?
That actually started my junior year of high school. And then I didn't tell anybody when I came to Concordia, but half my team calls me Irene. So
it's carried over.
Just carried over.
Any hobbies?
I like to paint a lot. I'm not very good at it, but I like to paint.
What do you paint?
Just anything. If I find something on Pinterest, I'm like, I think I could paint that. Time
try
to do it.
What's your major?
My major is exercise physiology, and I'm double minoring in business and management.
Jeez. So how do you manage it all?
Oh boy, I don't get a lot of sleep.
Yeah. Dream job?
Ooh, probably what I'm going for. I just really want to be part of running a hospital and just making sure that, there's a really high readmission rate for the U.S., so I just really want to help with that and just cut down our costs in the U.S. So.
You're a senior. What are your plans after Concordia?
So my plan starting this fall is I will be attending the University of Memphis for healthcare administration.
Nice. Well, Irene, that's it. You can go to class now, but thanks for your time. Best of luck these last couple of weeks. And again, the NAC Outdoor Track and Field Championships come your way on the 3rd and 4th of May. And again, check out cwfalcons.com for more information and for results throughout that week. When we come back, we will switch gears now and we'll focus on men's golf. Greg Nikolai, the head coach, will join us as we continue with this week's edition of the Falcon Focus podcast.
When did our measurement of success in life become so common? Because as unpopular as it might sound, God never intended for any of us to live a comfortable life. He intended for each of us to live each day with a higher purpose, to go outside our comfort zones and use our gifts and talents in the service of others. That's why He created each one of us uniquely, remarkably, to stand apart from the crowd, to live a life that's actually uncommon. Maybe that's why at Concordia University, our students have never been satisfied with simply fitting in and doing great things, but instead becoming great people. And why our education focuses on not only developing what you know, but who you are and who you were made to be. Passionate, faithful, courageous. Because living uncommon means living a you-first life in a me-first world, which isn't the easiest way. But at Concordia, it's the only way. After all, doesn't the world already have enough common? Concordia University. Live uncommon.
And welcome back to the Falcon Focus podcast. We're live with you until 10:15 here from the Concordia Cafeteria, and live with you every Tuesday from 9:45 to 10:15 on Facebook Live, archived on cuwfalcons.com. You can download the audio thanks to Podbean and listen through iTunes. So we switch gears now from women's outdoor track and field to men's golf and talking with Greg Nikolai. The head coach has been the men's and women's golf head coach here at Concordia, hired back in February of 2016. And thanks for your time. I know
Not a problem.
The men are competing as we speak, but let's talk women's golf first in the spring season. And you have the Marion Spring Invitational, and then this upcoming weekend in Rock Island, Illinois for the Viking Invitational. Take us through the spring season. What's kind of the focus for the women's golf team at this time?
Getting them back into playing golf. Obviously, we've had a long winter, and there's a long time in between. And, you know, our players don't travel over Christmas break to go play anywhere or whatever. So just getting them back into the focus of what golf is and getting them acclimated to playing again and playing competitively. You know, the other focus of mine has been to recruit and get more players on the team. So we've got 7 or 8 incoming freshmen for the fall, so that will help breed some competition as well, and hopefully drive it up a notch or two as well for going forward for next spring or next fall. And for this next tournament, it's really to get them some more competition and let them travel a little bit, just like the guys do, and compete and see how they do. And going into the summer season, can they then carry that forward in practice and do the things necessary to get better?
The group you have right now, you know, kind of a mix. You have a couple of, you know, underclassmen and a couple of seniors. Have you been pleased with the progress they've made from the fall to now?
Men and women, yes. I mean, we've been trying to do things over the winter to get both physically in shape and their golf swings in shape, and really we're working on that. We did some new programs over the winter indoors at a facility here in Mequon with the intent of working on the entire person, let's say, from a golf standpoint. So I think it's working out well so far. I mean, the results on the men's side have definitely improved. And the women, we just haven't had enough repetitions yet to truly see, but because of the size of the team, it makes it a little bit more of a challenge to do that. So,
switching gears now to men's golf, how would you go about, you talked about the progress, but how would you go about summarizing at least the fall portion of the season?
I thought the fall went pretty well. You know, there's obviously days and rounds that we don't do exactly as we want to. The conference championship in the fall, of which we were the host up at the Irish course at Whistling Straits, first day was miserable. Weather was just bad. Winds blowing 40 to 50 miles an hour, rain coming down. Nobody enjoyed it. We survived it. We're still in the mix. And, you know, this is kind of what we want to be in. You know, you want to have a chance as a team to be able to win conference. And I think we're there. You know, and the team we have right now for the spring is playing very well. And we just have to kind of not crack that up another notch or two to make up the ground that we gave back in the fall a little bit. We're 20 shots back, but we've got a chance. I mean, I really feel confident that the guys we have, if they play their best, we can make up 20.
And we'll talk more about the conference championship, which is a little bit, as again, the Falcons will go in right now in 3rd place out of 9 programs. You touched on this a little bit, but okay, so now what have you seen so far here in the second half of the year? Well,
these rounds that we have played, you know, we're tying school records, we're breaking school records, so we've got that chance to be inching forward. This past weekend we competed at the Milliken event, very good competition. We had 8 or 9 teams ranked ahead of us nationally in the field. And, you know, Illinois Wesleyan being the number 3 team in the country was there, and they played extremely well. And they struggled a little bit on Friday with the weather being so tough, but they came back and, you know, shot, you know, almost an even par round on Saturday. So our guys played good. Wyatt Wilderman shot a 72. He's had some experience on that golf course, having been a transfer from Milliken. Which is one of the reasons why we took him along, because we knew he could compete, or at least we thought he could compete, and he did extremely well. The other guys I wish could have played to that same level. We would have passed even more of those teams because where we finished in the field, one or two more shots from anybody would have bumped us up one or two more spots. So we were bunched up pretty tight there.
I was going to ask you about Wyatt being the Milliken transfer, what you saw from his game this past week and how he was able to shoot a 153.
I think confidence, part of it was, he had played both golf courses that we were at, and he felt comfortable in the surroundings, having played more rounds there. He had buddies from school that were coming to watch, etc. And along with his own team. I mean, we all kind of had that expectation that he was going to break out of, and post the kind of scores that he was capable of. And this was the event that he did it at. So, and that's good. It's, it kind of leads us into a tougher challenge or a tougher decision making on my part going into the conference tournament. So.
And you mentioned team-wise, okay, shot 626 for the 2 days, sixth lowest 36 hole total in program history. So I'm going to ask you, you look at a score like that, keys, what propelled the team to shoot 626 over a 2-day event?
I think consistency. I mean, we counted 4 scores in the 70s the second day. Day one, we only had 1 in the 70s, but we had 2 81s, an 82 and an 83, and the conditions were terrible. Mm-hmm. Day 2, we had 4 of the 5 scores in the 70s, and to play good golf, counting-wise, you have to have all 4 scores in there, in the 70s, or even better, 1 in the 60s would be nice. And we've had a score in the 60s earlier this year, so we just got to keep working and pushing these guys to do it. There's multiple guys on the team that can shoot under 70. If we could somehow get them on the same day, that'd be wonderful. And that's really kind of where I'm trying to push these guys to. I think they can do it.
I've heard you mention the conditions a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
fingers crossed, across the board here in spring, it has been nasty,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully finally starting to turn that corner. How has the weather affected this spring golf season?
Well, we had one round canceled, and that was the day it snowed up here on a Sunday, and that was the day after we won the WLC event. And, we shot a 303 that day, and then, it snowed that night, okay? So we've put good rounds together. We were kind of looking to hopefully piggyback and get a double win that weekend, but it just didn't happen. It wasn't in the cards. And then skipping into this past weekend, they played good, but it's a challenge playing in that tough weather when you're out there for 5.5 hours, 6 hours, and it's cold, it's windy, it's wet. Your bag gets heavy, and you're fighting just all the elements, etc. You got extra layers of clothes on to stay warm and dry. It does make it harder to do that. It doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal, but you got to stay mentally focused for a long time.
Is it something that plagues these athletes here in the springtime, or do you start to see it toward the end of fall and it carries over now into the spring as far as the conditions?
It carries over into the spring, and then we're trying. I think the more physically fit the athletes are, I think the easier it is for them to play, and that was part of the focus early in the winter season. And when we first started practice, was getting them to work out and lift more weights and get more flexible and be stronger from a core standpoint. It's going to help their golf games down the line, not only for this spring but summer and hopefully the lifetime of being able to do that.
Mentioned the sophomore Wyatt Wilderman, the transfer the weekend he had in Decatur, Illinois. Who are some of the other golfers that maybe caught your eye who are performing well as of late?
Well, Andrew Otto has played pretty solid all year. He's a junior, and obviously Sam Slosher is our best player, conference champion. And he and I have had some long conversations about what it's going to take for him to repeat from that perspective. I think he got a little tired. I think in the 78 was a good score, but I think the 79 probably should have been a little bit better. He just didn't hit the ball as well as he needed to. Dylan Carvalho, who's a sophomore, kind of regressed a little bit this past weekend, but I think the conditions were really tough on him, and you got to hit the ball pretty straight to keep it on line. Whereas Nate Benjamin, who is a very high ball hitter, did play better and hit the ball a little bit more solidly and posted a better number on that. So he's kind of beginning to round into form to where he needs to be. Got a couple other players playing today. in some of those spots, and going to see how they perform today in a pretty good field down in Kenosha as well.
All right, to break down the teams, okay, the men's side has 4 seniors. And from a women's standpoint, like to add more depth. So from a coaching standpoint, how do you go about recruiting? Do you go to high school events? I mean, how do you go about finding these golfers? What are you looking for? How do you know, hey, they got what it takes to be a collegiate athlete?
I'm going to go to the local high school events. I'll go to the state tournament in June in Madison as well. I will be going to some number of different high school showcases around the country. I'll be up at Whistling Straits in July for a 2-day event there, and then I'm probably going to be in New York at the same thing,
Nice.
Central New York in July as well, trying to, I guess, spread our wings a little bit as to getting outside the state boundary talent. And I try to get down to Illinois a number of times and watch down there as well, because there's good players down there that very seldom come across the border, unfortunately. And we need to get more talent both on the men's team and the women's team if we're going to compete and win, not only locally, but can we then compete nationally at the next level. And with the NAC conference being what it is with an automatic qualifier, I want to not only go to the tournament, I want to make the cut at the tournament and play the final 2 rounds as well.
I found it fascinating. I was reading about you in your bio. You can find on cuwfalcons.com. You've certainly been around the sport for a very long time at a variety of capacities. But what's your first recollection of golf? How did you get involved in the sport?
I have relatives in the Madison area that played golf, and we were at their house, and all the kids were making a lot of noise, and my grandfather, military man all his life, said, "That's enough, everybody out." It wasn't even his house, and he kicked all the kids out of the house. And my 2 cousins got sent to the golf course, and I had to go with them. And that's the first time I ever hit a golf ball. I was about 9 years old and absolutely loved it. First time I got the ball up in the air, I thought, wow, this is kind of cool. I could do this. And it kind of started from there.
Well, it's a sport that can be very fun. It can be very frustrating.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what is it about the game that you love?
I love, as a teacher, I love seeing success. I love seeing students hit a shot that they never were able to hit before, whether it's one of my students outside of school or one of the players, and do things that they were never able to do or knew they could do with a golf ball or a golf club. And from that perspective, seeing success and the enthusiasm of hitting good shots, and the fact that it's something you can do the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. I mean, my son's fondest golf memory is of him and I and playing golf with my dad. And, my dad at the time was 77, and, my son was probably about 10 or 11 years old. So it was just one of those things that he and I will remember for a long, long time to come. And that's something you can't get. We're not going to go out and play football or basketball when I'm 77 years old or something like that. It's not going to happen. But he and I can still play golf with his kids, hopefully.
A couple of things I did read that I wanted to pick out from your bio that I thought was interesting is, it says you're PGA certified, Class A15 for over 25 years, head golf professional at numerous clubs in the Milwaukee area. But then also, recently, you oversaw golf operations at Dick's Sporting Goods, great success there. How do those opportunities come about, and what do those entail?
Well, Dick's came about. I happened to meet one of the store managers at Missing Links. I was hitting balls, and I kind of saw him, and we just kind of started talking, and he said, we kind of need people in the golf side. So it was an opportunity, and, I was with Dick's for 5.5, 6 years, and I ended up starting out down in Racine, unfortunately, at a store, and then moved to the Mayfair location, and then eventually up to the Grafton location, which living in Grafton was far more comfortable.
Absolutely.
A far better commute and drive, let's say. But they do a ton of golf activity there. They're always pushing kind of the threshold and envelope of what's the newest stuff out there, etc. And I was trying to bring a knowledge base to their customer, along with integrity, that we're doing things the right way. We're not just selling golf equipment. We're selling the right golf equipment to the person that needs this kind of scenario. I wasn't just in a selling golf equipment to whomever kind of mode, let's get them the right stuff so that they can be successful. And they come back and buy all of their golf equipment there. It was or they tell their friends to come here and see me. And I had people do that. I had customers bringing coffee in the morning to me to come see me, and because of how they were treated.
You mentioned the PGA certified Class A15. What does that mean? What does that entail?
Well, the PGA has a number of classifications of different positions within the industry, and A15 just meant I worked in a retail establishment. Currently, I'm an A12 as a head golf coach. Okay. The certification was specialized training that the PGA offers to whatever PGA member wants it. And at the time, there were 6 different classifications of certification. Most people might go through 1 or 2. I did all 6 with the intent of being as well-rounded a professional as I could be. And it's something that I'm still kind of proud of, because there's probably only 10 or 15 guys in the country that did all 6. So out of 28,000 of us. So it's, when you think about it, it's a pretty small percentage of those people that have done it.
Last 2 questions. Okay, February 2016 comes around. You become the head coach for Concordia men's and women's golf. What made that job attractive to you?
Well, I knew some of the players on the team because they were either already clients of mine through Dick's or working at Dick's. My daughter goes to school here as well. So I had some inroads within a few people here, and, it seemed like it was a good fit for me. And while it was a full-time position, it allowed me to stick around golf and still teach and be part of and learning something a little bit different about it. Teaching golf to one player versus coaching a team and setting up all of that is a little bit different. So I had to stretch a little bit and figure out what all that was about. And, I had to go through my growing pains, and the team, God bless their souls, went through it with me. But I think we're getting to the point where, it slows down, just like, a quarterback in the pocket. It slows down for them a little bit, and you understand what you need to do and how you plan it. And, I think we're doing much better than we did 3 years ago, let's say.
And then finally, your thoughts on the road ahead. Okay, right now the men's team's in action at the Carthage Spring Invitational. Friday, weather permitting, hosting Wisconsin Lutheran at the River Club here in Mequon. And then coming up April 28th, 29th, it's just the final 2 rounds of the NAC Championship. Now it switches sites and will be the final 2 rounds hosted by Aurora. But as you mentioned, right now the Falcons come in 3rd out of 9 schools.
We're 20 shots back of Edgewood. We're 14 back of Aurora. My goal is we have to close that gap by more than 50% day one and kind of make it a dogfight to where it's a 3-team battle coming down the last 9 holes. That's all I can ask of the guys. And I think the guys want that as badly as I do. If we're not in it to win it, I need to find different players, okay? And I think everybody here wants to win, and they know I want to win. Losing's no fun, so let's try to win, okay? We took spring break this year to Lexington, Kentucky, site of the national championship, with the intent that we're going to go play practice rounds because we're going to be there in May again. So that's the confidence level that I wanted to show the guys and give them a reason to play hard. And, the golf course we played down there were phenomenal. So we want to go back down and compete nationally. So to do that, we got to get through the first step, and we've got to make up, 12 to 13 shots probably on Edgewood at least to close the gap and give them something to think about. Sunday night going into Monday's round is kind of the game plan.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, best of luck
thank you.
This next week or so, and we have to get down to Carthage for the Spring Invitational. But again, thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Morning.
Thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate it.
That's the men's and women's golf head coach, Greg Nikolai. We thank Irene Bolis as well for joining us. We thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you again next Tuesday at 9:45 for the Falcon Focus podcast.